everybody, and welcome to Mind Blowing Energy and You, bringing the woo-woo to everyday living. And today we have a really cool guest out of Calgary with a really interesting story. And before we get started, though, I would like to thank our sponsor, which is the South Edmonton Public Speakers Club. It is part of the Speakers Network with Pure Potentials. And it is a safe place to come and practice any of your speaking, whether you're an expert or a novice, it doesn't matter. We'll support you in your speaking. And now, actually, I would like to introduce Dr. Angela Grace. She's a ph-d psychologist specializing in girls and women, particularly healing eating issues, body image, and self-love. Now, Angela, like to welcome you. I mean, that is so great that you were willing to come and do this.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you use, I could have gone on to describe more of what you use in your practice, but you have such an interesting balance, actually, because you're a PhD psychologist, but you use all these other holistic methods and modalities for helping your clients. So can you just actually explain to us kind of what you do with your clients and how it sort of benefits them?
Well, yeah, so I'll just tell you a little bit of my background. So I was trained as a clinical psychologist, a counseling psychologist in traditional methods. So CBT, narrative therapy, I use solution-focused therapy. So it was very cognitive. It was very a lot of talk therapy, and that was very effective. And people would leave feeling better. But then I just had this deeper niggling feeling that I could be doing more, and I could be doing better, and I could actually be engaged in healing work. So interestingly, during my PhD, I went through some really traumatic experiences, both with the program and in my personal life. And I actually developed vicarious trauma and PTSD from it, and pretty severe insomnia. And one night, it was a full moon. I couldn't sleep at all. So I went out to get a cup of tea, and I was staring at the moon outside my window, and I'm like, can I please just have my soul back? Like, what has happened to me that I'm not me anymore? And I felt like such a hypocrite, because here I am, a counseling psychologist working with people, and me feeling so horrible and traumatized and triggered in my own life. So I just started, with the moon, I just started making this pulling motion. I'm like, can I have my soul back? Can I please have my soul back? And then after a few minutes, I felt better, and I was able to sleep. So I did what every good psychologist does. The next morning, I Googled soul pulling. What was I doing? And I came across Sandra Ingerman's work on soul retrieval and shamanism. So the more I read her work, the more it resonated with me on a deep core healing level. So I promised myself that when I was done, like this brain, intellectual, heavy PhD, that I was going to get my soul back and look at Core Shamanism. So I took the basic course in Core Shamanism, and I felt like I'd come home.
Oh.
It felt like everything became integrated again, and I could relax. I had better perspectives on my own life. So once I started taking more training in it, so I've got basic Core Shamanism, and all along, throughout my whole life, I've always had a connection with spirit, with animals. I was the little girl who in my grandma's garden would pick rose petals and make little fairy clothes out of them. So,
okay.
That magic, right? And I wanted to bring that holistic magic into the healing work that I do with clients. So I've got training in Core Shamanism, power animal retrieval, which is phenomenal. Then I did the soul retrieval and shamanic extraction workshop. So it's all working on a spiritual soul level to reach your higher power. And then I started to become brave. I'm like, okay, this is working in my life. I'm going to be curious if other clients are interested in this. So I do. I listen to what clients' issues are, and I propose a blend of, it's something intellectually that they struggle with, then we use CBT. If it's something, if it's body, emotion, and sensation that they're struggling with, then I use a powerful method called Hakomi. And it's body mind. It's a body and mindfulness centered program that really focuses on your own internal experience. And then I've brought in the Core Shamanism, which is connecting with spirit guides. And it's really phenomenal. Like in ancient times, people would go to the healer of their village, and it would be a shaman. And if we look at the root of psychology, it's the psyche, which in Greek times means the soul. So we've actually...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So in my expanded perspective beyond clinical psychology, we kind of missed the boat by making psychology all about neuropsychology and the mind,
right,
when it's actually an integration of the soul.
Huh.
And I've just found that in the soul-centered and shamanic work that clients are interested in doing, it is such a powerful healing method. They just become integrated so much more quickly than in talk therapy.
Yeah. Huh.
And it just, and so this makes me the woo-woo out there psychologist, but it's not out there, it's in here.
Yeah.
It's all in here. So people who really connect with that, with the spirit, with soul, with alternative approaches, just really find it so helpful.
Yeah. Well, it is so interesting, actually, for what you experienced yourself, and going from, like you said, a very, logical perspective of talk therapy, and, seeing it for yourself, but something that didn't match you. Like, your awareness alone took you to a whole other place.
A whole other place. Yeah. You know, during my academic training, I really started feeling like a brain on a stick.
Yeah.
Like, as long as I was writing and producing and jumping through the hoops and doing everything perfect clinically, then I felt like I was valued. But as soon as I stepped out of that, I'm like, where's my life? Where's me in all of this?
Yeah.
So it's really taking me a few years of acknowledging that I can't function in that academic world as a brain on a stick. And I think so many women feel that in their lives, in that they're just producing. My worth is only there, and my value is only there if I'm doing something for other people and taking care of other people and giving myself away. And I was there.
Yeah.
I was there for most of my career. And now it's just this whole other level of deep healing work.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only for yourself, but for your clients, which is amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing that I really believe in and integrate with my clients is EMDR. It's a trauma therapy called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So EMDR. And what it is it takes all of the intellectual, feeling, body-centered pieces, through a series of either eye movements or tapping to help release the trauma from the core. So I've developed this strategy of working with people. Of first, we, use narrative therapy and listen to their story.
Right.
If there's some cognitive things we need to work on, we do CBT. If there's deep-rooted trauma or anxiety, then I use EMDR. And then so it's like releasing everything from the person. And then Core Shamanism comes along and helps to fill you up again with your core self, your core beliefs, and your soul.
Wow. Like, that just, that sounds so whole and complete, like, for anybody that works with you. Like, it just yeah, actually, that's amazing. And just so our viewers know, actually, I did have a shamanic journey with Angela, which was absolutely, it wasn't like anything I have ever experienced before. And I've done a lot of different types of energy work and things like that, but there is something very unique about it that I mean, the best way I could describe it was so grounding that it was something I like I said, I had never experienced before. And it was funny, after the session, I didn't really have words to describe it. And apparently I still don't.
And that's just, there's no, I mean, we can describe it in our human words, but we get all this inspiration and ideas and metaphors and synchronicities in our lives that if you pay attention to it, that's spirit.
Yeah. Wow. Like I honestly, even though we've had a chance to speak briefly before, I can't imagine like the amount of success you would have in shifting your clients' lives by going through basically the process and utilizing the tools that you have, just at your disposal, whether, once you can see whether it's needed or not. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be amazing. But so your focus is mainly on women and girls. Mm-hmm. And so even you use all of those, like you said, for whether it's eating, body image, self-love, and that's your main focus?
That's my main focus. So basically, what I ask people, what has broken your heart? What is hurting your soul? And let's work on healing that part. Because what can happen, so in trauma, so in clinical psychology, when trauma happens, part of us dissociates, and that's how we keep, like, it's actually a protective measure. So in the world of psychology, it's called dissociation. And in the world of shamanism, it's called soul loss. So in the shamanic world, when something traumatic happens in the human world, part of our soul flies off to keep us safe. So in the clinical world, it's called dissociation, and they put you on medication to ground you. In the shamanic world, we do a soul retrieval, and we find the parts of you that are missing and invite them to come back home.
Wow.
And, I just remember the first time. So I work with my shaman, my shamanic mentor, and the first time he did soul retrieval with me, like, I just felt this whoosh of energy. And of course I started to cry because, like, everything spiritual and emotional makes me cry. But I remember kind of wandering around in a bit of a daze for the next 3 or 4 days. It was almost like I'd just come to earth and I'd just been born. I was like, what is this? Who is this? What body is this?
Yeah.
It was really amazing. And so the more work I do, the more it uncovers, the more whole I feel. And then if I'm whole and grounded, then I can be present and create a space for other people to then come home to themselves. And and this approach isn't for everybody. Some people just want a clinical, straightforward approach, but I'm just embracing that I am a woo-woo out there, yuppie, hippie psychologist who will do, I just believe that I will do what needs to be done to help people feel whole in their lives.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, honestly, and you've probably seen this as well, and maybe this is the reason for your shift. Is, everybody talks about, okay, not everybody, but a lot of people talk about, this giant shift in human consciousness that's been going on. And we can see so much of it now that, you have that bridge between what would be the suitable current society version of accepting therapy. And the spiritual aspect. So, you can give, like, even the people that are, I don't know, on the fringes of not sure if the spiritual, energetic world is where they want to step into, but still need help. You actually provide them with that base.
I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
So,
And the interesting thing is, like, of course clients are like, I don't know about this. And I said, you know what? It's all an experiment. Why don't we just try it and see what happens? And everyone is like, oh my goodness, that was amazing.
yeah. Well, you know, when you did the shamanic journey for me, the one part that I found just absolutely incredible, being somebody that, you know, deals with energy, I look at a lot of theta healing and, you know, using different frequencies for different things. And but that frequency through the drum, the rattle, it was something that I honestly either have never felt before or don't remember ever feeling before. But I don't know the best way I can describe it, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it was that earth frequency.
Yes.
Like the grounded, solid base that we are on, frequency that I think actually, like, in all honesty, it felt like it was something that was missing in my life because I always dealt in the other frequencies outside of what was here on earth.
Oh, that's interesting. And the journey that I did with you was down into the earth. So basically Core Shamanism was designed by, and not really designed, it was discovered and processed by anthropologist Michael Harner. And he studied shamanic practices in like 68 different cultures around the world. And he filtered down their practices to the core practices of all shamanic practices. So it's using some type of, so first you light a candle, so the soul knows where to come home to. And in the spirit world, they connect with incense. So incense has been used in many religions around the world and spiritual practices. Like our Aboriginal cultures use sage and sweetgrass, and tobacco, and it's all about offerings because the spirit world connect with those vapors and those essences. And then we use sound frequencies, so a drum at a certain frequency according to what the person needs.
I've lost your volume. Oh,
there we go. Okay, here we go. Shut off my phone, so I'm getting a text message in.
Oh.
Funny. But yeah, so it's using a drum or a rattle, and that frequency puts the shamanic practitioner and the client into a trance. And when you're not, like, so we've got our human realm that we live in, and then there's the lower realm, which is the animal and earth spirits, and connected and grounded to our earth. And then there's the angelic realm and our ancestral realm up above. So there's our ordinary realm, our lower realm, and our upper realm. And it just depends what the person needs. If we do a higher vibration into the angelic realm, or we do a lower vibration into the earth realm. And there's really something special about it. And
yes,
the more I study it, like, it sounds woo-woo and out there, but it's actually very scientific behind it. And there's a ton of research studies and experiences that people have.
That is super interesting to me.
It's really cool.
I love the science between that now is coming out for so much of this. And it is really all explained by frequencies.
It is. Yeah. Frequencies, and then connecting. Then the other realm that I'm starting to explore are the Akashic records. And what the Akashic records are, it's a record of all your life history and your future. And it just helps to give just to give some structure to your life and make sense of the things.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was going through my trauma and relational stuff and bullying in the workforce, like I really had to step away and come back home to myself. Right. And now that I've done my own healing work, I can see how those experiences were important for me to really come home and then to be there for other women and girls who are currently experiencing those things, and to give them some hope that you firmly can heal from it.
Yeah. And it is so important, like you kind of mentioned as well, is sometimes we do have to go through, things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In order to come out the other side, to be able to see, it's that seeing what we don't need tells us what we do need. Or what we don't want tells us what we do want.
Exactly. What we don't want tells us what we do want.
Yeah.
When I started this PhD, I was like super enthusiastic. I'm going to be a prof. I'm going to teach students. I'm going to speak at conferences and share best practices. But now it's different. Now I am a teacher in a different way. And instead of being on the academic side, I'm on the the word human side comes to mind.
I didn't realize that was an option, but okay.
That's just what comes to mind. Yeah, it's just a whole different experience. And you know what? Honestly, for me, this is way more fun.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I'm. As a psychologist, there's quite a few, I guess, guidelines, restrictions, or things that you can and can't do. Mm-hmm. But within your practice now, that must open you up to, already using, shamanic practices and other modalities, like that's got to be so much more freeing even for you.
It is. And I've practiced Reiki for quite a while. And it's finally recognized as a valid psychological practice, and which is fantastic. So the fact that I can blend all of these different things, it just gives a whole other experience. I just know how frustrating it was for me sometimes going to see a therapist and just talking about it and being like, okay, I shared my story, and okay, I have something to practice. But I never actually felt different. I never actually felt healed. It was just like, okay, I'm doing these things and hopefully I'll feel better.
Yeah.
But now it's actually come together in such a beautiful way.
Mm-hmm. And, such a big part of it seems to be your awareness actually of, while you were going through your PhD. But, when the night you were yelling at the moon or whatever you were doing.
The moon. Well, there was one point. I just remember this so clearly. There was one point where I was ready to quit. And I vowed to myself, I said, okay, tomorrow morning you are writing your letter of resignation. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's okay. You can quit. I give you permission to quit. So I slept incredibly well that night. And the next morning I woke up and opened my Gmail to write this letter. And my very first email was that I'd won a major national scholarship for my academic work. And I sat there staring at that email and I'm like, okay, God, apparently somebody out there wants me to finish this.
Yeah.
So I gathered up all my resources and I created what I call my portable self-care kit, extreme self-care. So I made a little bag and I had some angel aromatherapy in it. I put my angel cards in it. I put some crystals in it and some chocolate covered mangoes because you need good food to eat. And then I found this little ring that was just very symbolic for me. So I wore that ring to all of my meetings and everything. It was just a symbol of, okay, I'm going to be okay. And it was funny because like the places I worked at, the receptionist would start, and I didn't tell anybody I was doing this.
Yeah.
Because it was private for me, just my little saving grace that I could carry this package of what was important to me. But the receptionist would start coming to me and be like, can you pull an angel card for me? Can I have some aromatherapy now? Because they were all stressed out. So I really believe in helping girls and women find their sacred self-care.
Right.
In really, truly honoring themselves. Because we can unintentionally get ourselves into relationships and work situations and obligations that are not in alignment. And even through this process, I've recently had to let go of 3 volunteer placements that I thought I would love, but were not valuing me. So I had to value me by stepping away.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I can help other girls and women do that and give them the confidence that it's really going to be okay if you step into yourself and not these outside obligations, life is so much better.
And, you know, it is so interesting, actually, because as we shift through, just whatever shifts we're going through, and we start changing, actually, our energy. And there are things that are maybe in our lives already. There are people that are in our lives that they just sort of start to fall off. They don't feel comfortable anymore because we've changed. But we always attract better feeling things or people to replace that. So it is almost like, we don't need to fear the changes, which often, like, I'm sure as a psychologist, you must have found, you know, people do fear, like, if I change, what I know is going to change, and I'm scared of that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's got to be a bit of a challenge for a lot of people.
And I went through that terror. I went through the terror. Oh my gosh, I'm leaving my job. I'm leaving my marriage that was really important to me. I am following, I don't even know what I'm following right now, but I know I have to be honest with myself.
Yeah.
That was so incredibly challenging to just face the fact that I wasn't being honest with myself. And even worse, when the time came and I was being honest with myself, the outside world did not want me to be honest with myself.
Yes. Yeah.
When I said to one of the directors at the university that I was burning out, that I was tired, that I couldn't keep going like this, the response was, well, you know, suck it up, princess, because if you take a break or you stop now, you're gonna have to start all over again. So that's when my ideas of extreme self-care, of honoring yourself, sometimes we have to go through those really rough experiences to get to where we need to go, which clearly that was for me, but that wasn't the end point. Which is really amazing.
Yes. And, you know, it is such an interesting journey. It's an interesting trip. I mean, life is an adventure. There are the hills and the mountains, but there's also, you know, little lush green valleys. It's, you know, there's a variety of things that we do experience.
Yeah, there is.
And that's the thing is, but it is like you have to move to have that experience. You can't stand in one spot.
Well, and we can, you know, what was truly beautiful for me was last week, I met with 3 women during the day. So I had three different sessions, and each of the women I'd been worked with for the last several months. And that day, it was the day after the full moon, and all 3 of them came in with major realizations that they were going to either leave a relationship, they were going to leave a school thing, they were going to leave a job thing that was no longer serving them.
Right.
And they'd move past the terror point into the excitement of, oh my goodness, what's coming next?
Yeah.
And it's so thrilling to me that instead of staying stuck in what they thought they wanted, or the obligations, or that what will other people think mode, they were really honoring themselves. And in the past, and unfortunately, I probably would have been the therapist to keep them a little bit stuck, or to convince them to keep working through the issues instead of just saying, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's just such a different place.
Very different. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really neat. And the fact that it was the day after the full moon, this is the blue moon, it just tells me everything is connected.
Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
There is no such thing as consequences, and we are connected to literally everything, each other. Yeah. And it, honestly, there are really a lot of other things that I would love to talk about, but we're almost out of time.
No.
Because even just the shamanism in itself, that is fascinating to me anyways, but it is absolutely incredible that all these ancient cultures, for thousands and thousands of years, that was what they were doing. And it is so funny how, ancient cultures used all this, and yet today it's like, unless there's scientific proof, we don't believe in anything. And I was like, wow. We forget that our science is very limited. Mm-hmm. So much of what we think we know is, only a half truth or less or more. But, it's like we weren't getting a full grasp, but things are getting better now.
Yes.
And it's going back to show that things like energy work, shamanism, like all of these things are valid.
Yes, they are valid. Well, people were highly critical of EMDR when it came, and now there's so much research behind it. I would love to team up with a researcher. I don't want to do the research myself. I want to be the shaman who is, and then work with my clients as to what their experience is. Mm-hmm. So it's moving from evidence-based practice to practice-based evidence. And for me, the evidence is in what my clients experience.
Yeah.
That's the proof.
Yeah.
If by doing this, they feel better. Mm-hmm. And are able to make more grounded decisions. That's proof.
And just actually people living happier, like in my world, life should be fun.
Yes.
Yeah, there are things that seem challenging, but you know what? I found I can usually still laugh my way through most of it. Because really, if you can't find the humor in some of the crap that goes on here on Earth, it's like, wow, makes life tough.
It does. And when you're in a traumatized place and you can't find the joy, like that's what was so hard for me during that experience was I'm like, I am a happy person. What the hell?
Yeah.
And so to come back to that is just so much better.
Well, and you know what? And you are a perfect shining example of, some of the crap that we go through, and yet your awareness and your being courageous to step out of what you were doing. I mean, especially, something like a PhD is a huge commitment. It's and it comes with so many preconceived notions that you could have attached your identity to all of that and not been able to see your way out and not been happy for a lot of years.
Yep, exactly.
But
and it's one of the most beautiful things when a woman decides to save her own life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very true. Well, Angela, I would like to thank you so much. And one of these days, actually, I would like to do a whole podcast on the shamanism.
That would be really amazing.
Yeah, because I still honestly have so many questions about it. And I think it is amazing. And more people need to hear about it and find out more about it.
They do.
One question I do have is, with your practice, does it have to be in person because you are in Calgary? Or no?
No.
Okay. So it can be like A Zoom
It
call,
doesn't have to
phone call?
It could be a Zoom call, it could be a phone call, it can be Skype. I do like to do the first session with people like face to face because there's such healing in that energetic relationship when you're face to face.
Yeah.
But like we can do distance healings, and Skype is a lovely way to do that. Skype or Zoom is a lovely way to do that as well.
Oh, awesome. Yes. I just so happened to luck out because Angela was in town.
Well, maybe we need to do a weekend workshop up there.
Exactly. Actually, you know what? That might not be a bad idea, I'm thinking, at all.
Could be really fun.
So while Angela and I go and plan a weekend workshop here in Edmonton, so the rest of you can experience everything that Angela does and the amazing effects. And I'll keep you posted on when that might be.
That would be so much fun. See, that is fun work.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about, is the fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Angela. And I am I'm getting over a cold, but so happy that you came here today. And I'm glad actually people are getting a chance to hear about what you do. And hopefully there's a few people that that are just drawn to you and find that what you offer is something that can help them.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks again, Angela. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. And thanks to our sponsor for today, the South Edmonton Speakers Club. I think I put her off because my throat's about to cut it off for me.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Right. Well, thank you. And everybody go have a great week. And we'll have another exciting guest next Thursday. Thanks.